Hi, I'm Femi OK and you're in the stream. Today, fighting for a polio-free Pakistan. Just how close are health workers to eradicating a crippling disease from their country? So we do tell you this all the time. This is your show, and today is a great example of this. Malika Bilal, digital producer of the stream, please explain.
Very much so.
Right.
You know, this story caught our eye because of this tweet we got from Silla, who said, following polio stories very closely as a post-polio syndrome survivor. She also sent us this.
Hello, my name is Silla Webster. I'm from South Africa. I'm a polio survivor and tweeted Al Jazeera to ask them to do a program on polio. And that is what they're doing today.
Our thanks to Silla. Now you can also join this conversation. Tweet us with hashtag AJStream.
Now joining us in the studio, we have Benazir Shah. She is a senior reporter for Newsweek in Pakistan. And back in 2013, she was awarded the United Nations Correspondents Association Award for her coverage of Pakistan's polio eradication campaign. Benazir, it's really great to have you here on the stream.
Thank you for having me.
Looking forward to hearing your stories in just a moment. Now, we did say that this is a show that was suggested by one of you, and you can do the same thing. If you're sitting there going, I think the stream should tackle this topic, it's really easy. You can tweet us, or you can go to facebook.com/AJstream, and that is where I am right now, and your idea could eventually be in the stream.
My name is Tasneem Atala. I'm a human rights activist and I'm in the stream.
In one of the largest global health initiatives, billions of dollars have been spent to eradicate the polio virus in Pakistan. But recently, infections in the country have grown sharply, especially in the northwest. This month, the World Health Organization declared an international public health emergency after reports of polio nearly tripled. About 80% of these new cases were found in Pakistan. The country's health workers face multiple challenges, mainly threats of violence from the Taliban and also public fear that the polio vaccine is linked to US plots against Muslims. The situation became even worse after it was revealed in 2011 that the CIA organized a fake health program to find Osama bin Laden. So what's being done to counter Pakistan's polio resurgence? To help us understand more on these issues, we have, via Skype in Islamabad, Altaf Bosan. He is a national coordinator with the Prime Minister's Polio Monitoring and Coordination Cell, and also in Jeddah, Zubair Mufti. He's the Pakistan National Coordinator for the World Health Organization. So it's great to have you all here in the stream. Welcome, everybody. Let's start with Zubair, Dr. Zubair. So I am in the Swat Valley of Waziristan, and the health workers are coming to tell me about polio. I have no idea what polio is. How would you explain it to me?
Well, polio is a disease that affects the nervous system of an individual, mostly children, and the ultimate result is that the individual ends up paralyzed for the rest of his life or her life. And there is no cure for polio. Once it happens, and there is no way back. The person has to face disability, rehabilitation or non-rehabilitation, that's another story, but the person is disabled for the entire life. But on the other hand, there is a very effective vaccine that can prevent a person from falling prey to this disabling disease. And since an effective vaccine is available, there is no cure. The prevention becomes very, very important.
Sure.
So this is why when the health workers go, they should be welcomed in a way that they deserve, because they are there to protect the people's children or the nation's children from lifelong disability.
And is that a conversation that you find very persuasive as you're going around the parts of Pakistan that still have polio?
Well, unfortunately, polio exists in Pakistan mainly in the areas where vaccination activities have not been performed for a significant period of time, 2 years or even more, unfortunately, in parts of the tribal belt. And that is why, it's not a rocket science. If you vaccinate, you shield the children against the disease, you protect them. If you do not vaccinate them, the virus, the infectious agent would come and hit them.
Sure.
And this is what exactly is happening in Pakistan.
There's something I have to show you on my laptop to everybody who's watching this, because we looked at this map and we just went, whoa. So this is a map, 1988, countries that have never eliminated polio. So those countries are pink. So we've got Mexico, we've got parts of South America, much of Africa, the Middle East, little bits of Europe, and also a big chunk of Eastern Europe. So that's 1988. Countries that have never eliminated polio, 2014. Look at this. We've got Nigeria here, we've got Pakistan, and then we have Afghanistan. And the idea that this is achievable, that you can stamp this out, is pretty amazing. I'm just going to go back to Dr. Zabir again. Just the curiosity of it all is that we've only got 3 countries left really to tackle polio in. What is it that's special about Pakistan that we still have polio in Pakistan? Why should we be focusing particularly on this one country?
Yeah, just to add to what you showed is that there were more than 350,000 cases globally. And in the context of Pakistan, more than 20,000 in just before 1994. And it has dropped down to a few hundreds in the world, and Pakistan is almost now less than 100 in 2012 and 2013. Now, as I told you, if you reach every child that is targeted during a vaccination campaign against polio, that is less than 5 years of age, and you vaccinate these children consistently for 6 months, all the newborns, all the children who are too young, especially sleeping inside the houses, if you vaccinate those children on consistent basis, the polio virus would not find a place to live, because it is a virus that survives only inside the human intestine. It cannot survive much in the environment. But if you carry on missing some children in every campaign, then it just finds its place not only to just carry on but also replicate and increase its numbers. So this is unfortunately what certain areas of Pakistan could not achieve, that vaccination activities have been missing persistently some children in some parts of the country in different times, sometimes due to issues regarding performance and management, but then that was overcome, as Dr. Boson would explain later, that National Emergency Action Plan came into play, and
Dr. Zubair, take a breath a moment, Dr.
But at this moment,
we're going to get a little deep into these issues, because these are big issues. Very simple way to get rid of polio, but the issues in Pakistan are much bigger. Right. Malika.
Well, so our community members are sharing with us why those issues are so much bigger. So Khadija tweets in that, I'd like to share, in our part of Pakistan, she says, almost all of the villages hate to vaccinate their kids. Another person wrote to us, this is because some rural areas, people there believe polio vaccines are anti-fertile, so they're against them. So Benazir, you've been reporting on this issue for a long time now. What is it that you hear from families for why they may be against this?
That's a misconception, that it's based on, Muslims sort of refusing vaccine because, it's leads to infertility, or because it might have pig fat in it. These are some of the misconceptions. That number is very, very low. You can ask most of these experts and they'll tell you that 0.5% of these refusals are based on religion. So the majority issue is inaccessibility. That's the problem, that you cannot assess these tribal areas. You cannot get into these tribal areas, and we haven't because of security concerns. I mean, the army is sort of now moving in to these areas. They have troops now, and there's some sort of like a military operation now happening. So maybe it might happen now, but for the longest time, the army and the government has had no writ and control over these areas. So inaccessibility is the bigger concern. There's misconceptions, and I think that just sort of is giving it a bad name by saying that Muslims sort of are against polio. That's not at all true. I mean, 0.5% is a very, very negligible amount of refusals.
Dr. Althoff, what did you want to add?
Yeah. Yes, definitely. If we can see the statistics of the vaccination in Pakistan, so really speaking, you will see a very minimal refusal rate here, and specifically the problematic areas, even Fata, the federally administered tribal areas, as well as the Balochistan, and also in Karachi, where we have a serious problem in insurgency and also the security. So really, even then, because we have a very minimal refusal over there, so we don't have a problem of this thing really religiously on it. But even then, because if you can see in Pakistan, and we have a lot of religious support. Many organizations, many religious institutes, they are supporting to the polio eradication initiative in Pakistan.
Okay.
And then
all right, so let me just bring in something, because the people who are actually doing this are health workers who are going through these, literally house by house by house, delivering the polio vaccine to families and to little kids. I want to give you an example of some of the pushback they're getting, not all, as Benazir was saying, but some of the pushback they're getting as they're in the field. So this is an immunization worker talking to a family, trying to persuade them that using the polio vaccine is a good idea. Have a look at this.
जैसे अल्लाह ना करे कोई पोलियो केस निकल जाता है या कहीं पोलियो का ख़तरा होता है तो ये फिर घर घर हम जाके मुहिम चलती है हमारी और हम है ना घरों में जाके बच्चों को पोलियो कतरे पिलाते हैं ताकि वो बच्चे भी महफूज हो जाएं उस आने वाली बीमारी से बच्चे बच जाएं और उम्र भर की परेशानी से वालिदैन बच जाएं।
वो तो ठीक है लेकिन जब हम खुद अपना एहतियाती तदाबीर कर लेते हैं तो फिर हमें करने क्या जरूरत है? बता रहे हैं ना आपको, एक दफ़ा अगर बता दिया दो दफ़ा बता दिया तो अब आप क्यों पीछे पड़े मेरे समझ नहीं आ रहा।
नहीं हमारा काम,
अगर आप मुझे कोई डरवाना चाहती हैं कोई वो करना
नहीं हमारा काम ऐसा कुछ भी नहीं है।
ऐसा नहीं है, ऐसा नहीं है, हम भी यही रहने वाले हैं, आप भी यही रहने वाले हैं।
सही है, आप रहने वाले, जो काम करने का है वो तो हो नहीं रहा, दीन का कोई काम नहीं हो रहा अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह।
So the door was closed there on the health workers, and they had to then move on. That little clip was taken from a Lifelines documentary that's coming up on Al Jazeera called The Last Drop, and we'll tell you more about that at the end of this program.
I want to add one thing though. We were talking earlier with Dr. Zubair about how is it easy to convince people to take polio vaccination, and the people that we spoke to when we were reporting, polio is just not a priority for them, because most of these people that are polio victims are living in the slums or in underdeveloped areas, maybe in Karachi. So for them, basic civic facilities are more important than taking polio drops, because of the 200 people that are infected, one can suffer from paralysis. Now that's a very low number compared, when people think about it. So for them, it's just not a priority. Like for instance, the piece that we just saw right now, and that person says, we have other problems, and polio is just not such a big concern for them.
Well, it's interesting that you said that. This is also what Abhinav says on Twitter. The battle against diseases like polio can be fought when there's peace and there's harmony. People in Pakistan face bigger challenges every day. Well, Dr. Altaf, I also want you to have a listen to this next video comment. This is from someone who's a bit critical of the discussion about how to eradicate and whether eradication is really the answer. Have a listen to this.
The chief problem with the polio eradication campaign was that it was a top-down global program. It was not a high priority in the countries that had polio. They had other diseases that killed children that were much more important to them. The result was that a campaign was created that the countries were pushed into saying they would support, even though it was a low priority. And in a place like Pakistan, the problem was it was a low priority. It wasn't there. They didn't have ownership for good reason. That was not one of the things they wanted to do. And the result was that the global campaign started to scapegoat countries that, quote, had lack of political will. Lack of political will for what? Lack of political will to do what Geneva wanted them to do, not what they wanted to do.
So, Dr. Altaf, I'd like you to focus on the part where he says this was a top-down problem. Would the answer to this comment be that it should be an approach that looks at the bottom first?
First of all, I think we must understand the peculiar situation of the country in Pakistan, because as we have been sharing with you since the start of this interview. Really speaking, the emergency we have declared in Pakistan, and then the commitment of the government of Pakistan, which is in place, the oversight mechanism has been established, and that has given us a result. And then we have seen, as we are killing more than 90% area, and the population of the country lives in polio-free areas. So now the only problem we have where we have a security issues, the accessible issues, when the vaccinators are not in a position to go and then do polio drops to the children, how we can control the situation. But yes, definitely, because we have started different kind of strategies and steps in Pakistan, like in Peshawar and Karachi, where the security issue were, we have conducted 12 rounds, the one-day champion rounds in Peshawar and 7 rounds in Karachi. And then we haven't seen any secret incidents were there. And then now we are moving to the FATA, and the government is very much committed. And then we are very much hopeful. And end of 2014, we will see a good controlling situation in those areas.
All right, that's interesting. Let me just bring in something that Benazir that you shared, and this is what you got your UN award for. Something called the polio murders, which you reported on in Newsweek. They're still happening. I'm looking at one of your tweets here, and it says the female polio worker was found with her lips cut and hands broken. Who are these health workers who are going into these areas, risking their lives in order to deliver a polio vaccine?
I mean, these health workers are actually the bravest in this final push to end polio. I mean, they're extremely mindful of the risk that they're facing. And some of them get paid as low as $2 a day, and they still go into these areas and they're still delivering drops. But you know, I mean, when I was listening to Mr. Altaf right now, I just think that it's you know, the thing with these areas are that they need to provide security to these health workers, and that's something that they've not been able to do. I mean, there's one policeman that's with them, and then they go into these areas, and these policemen are also shot and killed with the health workers. So I think that's like a bigger concern. Like, the end of the day, security is a much bigger issue for polio than misconceptions. And when we talk about Muslim countries, majority of the Muslim countries don't have polio endemic. Sure. And they're polio-free. And majority of these Muslim countries are helping us. The Islamic Development Bank is giving us money. UAE is giving us money. I mean, the financial aspect is also in place. But the problem is security in Pakistan. I mean, you have areas that you can just not access.
Sure. Milika.
Well, in trying to address that, the issue of security, Benazir, we got this tweet from Jazar who says educating tribal elders and trusting them with the task of would help rebuild this tension that was caused by, he mentions, CIA operation, and also help penetration. Do you think that that's the answer, to go first to tribal elders, to have them then disseminate? You
know, I'm not too sure, because these tribal elders are also part of this, and they're not trusted. They're considered corrupt, they're considered authoritative. They have laws and rules in the tribal areas where if one person from a tribe commits a crime, the entire tribe pays for it. The entire tribe is punished for it. So these people are just not trusted. I mean, if someone's so authoritative and dictator, in such a dictatorship style of leading, the people are not going to trust them. People are not going to let them sort of come into their areas. And most importantly, we need a census in Pakistan. The last time we conducted a population census was 1998. I'm listening to what Mr. Altaf is saying, and you know, all these numbers are thrown at us, that 600,000 have just been vaccinated, 300,000 have been vaccinated, but against what? I mean, how many children are left? We don't know. And every single child counts. Every single child needs to be vaccinated.
Sure. Dr. Zubair, I mean, we're talking about Pakistan right now, but in terms of the world, why is Pakistan so critical?
See, Pakistan, as you were mentioning, you know, on the global map, that the entire globe is now almost without polio cases. And if you look at the situation over the last 12 to 18 months, those countries which had eradicated polio or got rid of it, there is resurgence of polio in those countries. These include Egypt, where there were no polio cases back in 2012 December.
How does that happen,
But
Dr.
then the
Zubair?
polio virus, excuse me. Yeah, I'll tell you. So polio virus was found in the sewage water, you know, because polio virus travels with people in their intestines. So once people travel having polio virus in their intestine, they just carry the virus from one place to the other, and this is how the polio virus of Pakistan's origin appeared in Egypt. Later the same virus went from Egypt to Palestine, then appeared in Syria, and recently in Iraq. So all those efforts, global efforts, all those resources that have been utilized over a period of say more than 2 decades now, those efforts are in jeopardy because of the situation in Pakistan. This is why the entire globe is looking towards Pakistan to finish the job and get this disease out of the picture, so that there is no more danger the children have to face. But the situation, I would like to just quickly highlight the criticality of this very moment in polio eradication. We are entering into a season that actually expects to see more polio cases because of the fact that in summers, in monsoon, the polio virus transmits more efficiently. And again, Pakistan has reported the highest number of polio cases in the winter season, when polio cases are expected the least. So if at this point in time the efforts that Dr. Bosen was mentioning are really made in the full thrust, and Pakistan really achieves reach to all the children, things can start moving in the very right direction. If we look at the success story of India, more than 700 cases were reported in 2009. Then 2010, when more children were reached, only 42 polio cases, and then the solitary polio case in 2011.
All right, Dr. Zubair, I'm going to hurry you along here now because we're wrapping up this part of the program. We will come back to you and bring you back in the post-show. But I have heard you say an audacious amount of time it will take to eradicate polio in Pakistan. What is that time that you are suggesting it will take? Dr. Zubair.
You see, as I told you, if the situation is overcome and all the children are reached for a consistent period of 6 months.
6 months.
Pakistan can cross the line pretty quickly.
I'm going to leave our audience with that figure: 6 months to eradicate polio in Pakistan, according to Dr. Zubair. We are going to continue this conversation at stream.aljazeera.com. But if you're interested in hearing more about polio eradication in Pakistan, check out The Last Drops. It's airing on May the 29th on Al Jazeera, and it's part of the Lifelines Global Health series. And it's made with help from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and you can see that in a couple of days' time. Right now, here's Malika with some other stories that we're following on the stream.
We start in Brazil, where activists in the city of Recife are occupying the site of a set of historic buildings scheduled to be demolished. Protesters have rallied outside the warehouses at José Estelita Pier, blocking tractors and vowing to remain until their demands are met. Well, activists consider the project a sign of the government's lack of respect for tradition in favor of modern development. Using hashtag #OccupyEstelita, one user tweets they shouldn't be able to build anything else in Recife without the support of its people. A public meeting with government officials and the site's developers is scheduled for Wednesday. We head next to Iran, where women who uploaded Facebook photos of themselves without headscarves are facing a social media backlash. Supporters of the original campaign, entitled My Stealthy Freedom, defied a national dress code by uploading the photos, sparking debate on the country's policy. Well, some argued wearing hijab is a woman's choice, while others expressed support for the dress code. This image states not wearing proper hijab is worse than not wearing anything at all. Well, one group of Iranian men poked fun at the original campaign, posting pictures of themselves dressed up as their female counterparts. Well, there's more debate on both of those stories on our website at stream.aljazeera.com. Tweet us your thoughts at #AJStream. Femi?
Thank you very much. Now, on the next show, Malika, we're going to do something that we haven't done. I don't think we've ever done.
I'm excited.
On the history of the stream. So the last time we talked about Thai politics, that was back in December. And now the country's on its 12th coup since 1932. So we are bringing back the same group of guests to see what they have to say about recent developments. So Malika, we go back to the old program. We go back to now.
Different answers, I'm sure.
Different answers. Hindsight is a wonderful thing. That show coming up next at AJ Stream, and we will see you in the meantime online at stream.aljazeera.com. Thanks for watching. Hello again, this is the Stream's online post show. We're talking about polio eradication in Pakistan and some of the risks that health workers are facing to end the disease. I want to get right back to the conversation. I mean, part of the reason we had all of our guests here with Benazir, Dr. Zubair, Dr. Altaf, was to actually get rid of some of the misconceptions. So Benazir is saying that the number of people who are actually saying, no, we don't want the polio vaccine, it's minute. It's not about being an Islamic country. Like, that's not important.
The number of people on the basis of religion.
Right, based on religion. Done. Pig's blood, where did that rumour come from, Benazir? That there's pig's blood in the vaccine.
Pig's fat.
Pig's fat, sorry. Pig's fat. How did that even?
I don't know, beats me.
And that's gone as a rumour? Nobody thinks that anymore?
I mean, there are people that sort of, I think Mr. Altaf wants to add something to that.
Okay. Yes, go ahead, Doctor.
Yes, thank you very much. I think the comments given by Benazir, yes, I value on those comments, but really speaking, if you can go and see in the field and the reality, because this is not only, I think, the one time the team is going and then dealing with the families who are refusal, or but we have a different strategies to deal with them. And then on the basis of that, because you know that we have a catch-up activities in this regard, so to control on the refusal families, and we have a minimal, again and again we are saying, in every round we have a minimal number of the refusals.
Okay,
but you must listen.
Yes,
please.
Tell me why this is important then, Dr. Altaf. You have a minimal number, but why is this so critical that you reach that minimal number?
Yeah, but then I'm saying you, because we have a different kind of strategy, and then our network is working to convert the refusal into acceptable status. So
how do you do that?
34 million children.
How do you do that? How do you convert people who are determined not to have the vaccine?
Because you know that we have a recording, because we have a reporting system, and then we are following to the families with the different sources to convert them in a reality. And then you know the 34 million families are being accessed for the vaccination of their kids. So and another thing, because as we have been discussing about the protection of the workers, in 2013 the staggering strategy of the campaign was adopted, and then at that time, yes, definitely, because as Benazir is saying, because the only one security guard is not enough for the team, but now cordon activities have been started in Pakistan now to protect the workers, to give them more protection. And then we have seen this one, as I with you, in Peshawar and Karachi, when we have conducted one-day campaign activities, so not a single incident has been happened for them.
Dr. Altaf, just give us a moment, just so we can have this as a conversation with all of us. Benazir,
I just want to add something. I mean, I would want to pose this question to Dr. Altaf. I mean, when we were doing this report back in 2012, we were told that they've set up 47 vaccination centers around the tribal areas, and they are immunizing these children, and there's one on the border with India and one on the border with China. And then nobody ever heard of those vaccination centers. And then now recently, when the travel...
I don't want to have to read between the lines here. Did they get set up or did they not get set up?
So we were told by the health experts that they were set up. They were already there in place.
Right.
And anyone leaving or entering the tribal areas was being vaccinated.
Okay.
But now recently, this is 2 years from now, and now recently when the travel restrictions were imposed, we were told again that now they're setting up vaccination centers. So I mean, either the previous ones were not effective, or they were just never set up, and how are they going to be any different than what was proposed 2 years ago? So I mean, I just wanted to ask Dr. Altaf that
No, because and I can also add, because you know the 467 transit points have been established in Pakistan. This not only, I think, the FATA and Khyber Pakhtunkhwa borders, but in provincial districts and then in the reservoir areas, around the reservoir areas, we have established the permanent transit points, and those are functional. only in the first quarter of this year, 3.5 million children have been vaccinated through this permanent transit points, and now we are also focusing to a mobile population who have been moved from the north and south Waziristan to district Bannu, and also the neighboring,
all right. So Dr. Altaf, you're losing us as an international community. I'm sure Benazir appreciates that answer. I'm just going to interrupt just for a moment so we can get more of our community into the conversation as well. Malika.
Well, one of the main things that our community members wanted to talk about is the CIA and their role in this. And so for our international audience who wants to know what those two things have to do with each other, one person writes in, 59 polio cases reported in Pakistan this year, 56 of them in Waziristan, and he puts in parentheses, this is the venue for fake campaigns. He says polio, actually, it was hepatitis. Another person writes in, trust is hard to sell, and the CIA has created an atmosphere of mistrust for health officials. Another person elaborates on that, saying this is because the CIA used a doctor, Dr. Afridi, in a mission to hunt Osama bin Laden. So when they see workers, they think that they are spies. So Benazir, can you break this down for our audience who's not familiar with the CIA's role? What is this?
So
what is the story behind that?
In 2011, when they were hunting for Osama bin Laden, they needed DNA samples. So they employed an NGO in Pakistan, a US-based NGO in Pakistan, employed a local Pakistani doctor, and they sent him to collect samples. Now, he was conducting a Rus hepatitis C campaign. For some reason, the media picked it up and they said it's a polio campaign, and that's how they found Osama bin Laden. And now, right now, he's in prison. He's serving 33 years. So that became a major perception issue. The media picked it up and they said, oh, through polio, you know, there's sort of the CIA is penetrating into our houses and they're getting our information. And then not long after that, there was another little incident that happened. Someone called Raymond Davis, he was a CIA operative who was working under the guise of a humanitarian worker, and he shot dead 2 Pakistanis. So, you know, so now these Pakistanis are thinking that they're just CIA operatives just on the streets and just sort of, you know, just spying on us all the time. And that becomes an issue. They were health workers that told us that when they would go to houses, people would say, oh, if you're looking for Osama bin Laden, he's not here. So, I mean, you know, they've had responses like that. So that is something that just further compounded.
Well, is the CIA's announcement not too long ago that they're going to stop campaigns like that, does that trickle down to people in Pakistan?
You know, honestly, when I read that, and I might be wrong, but I was looking it up in local, you know, Urdu newspapers, and I could not find that statement in any of the local ones. It was mostly picked up by English dailies, but I might be wrong about this. So I don't think that it was maybe put out as much or as effectively as it could have been and reached out to more people. So I'm not sure if that was very effective. And that also in a way is an admission of the fact that, you know, the US was initially employing spies to get through and using and, you know, holding hostage these campaigns.
So let's get back to that whole process of working on the ground, Dr. Zubair. You said about 6 months is all that you need, but the kind of conditions that you need, are they in place?
Well, you know, the complete sentence that I made was that if consistent vaccination activities of high quality are conducted for 6 months, you can get the job done, and we have very strong evidence, scientific evidence across the world. But if situation keeps, you know, the way it is right now, and things are stuck the way they are right now, things can even get worse, let me tell you. Because if you go back in 2011, Pakistan's all the 4 major provinces and FATA were reporting polio cases with greater geographic diversity than now. So if in these coming months access is not actually secured and all the children are not reached, virus can actually pop out of these areas and go elsewhere in the country and can cause more polio cases. So really, this is why it's a very critical time for Pakistan's polio eradication program to really do something. And this recent renewed resolve by the government of Pakistan, expressed by the Prime Minister, to engage army also and circles like religious leaders, that actually gives a ray of hope But what is going to happen is it's only time is going to tell in the coming months.
Okay, Dr. Zubair Mufti, you were just listening to him. Dr. Altaf Bossa and Benazir Shah, thank you for being in this conversation here on the stream, talking about polio eradication in Pakistan. Meanwhile, moving on to our next AJ stream, Thailand's military coup, where we visit some former guests and hear their take on the latest news in Thailand. Until then, take care.